Hello, everybody. We want to welcome you to tonight's podcast.
Hello, everyone.
It is good to see everybody on, and we are excited to be here coming into the beginning of what we would deem to be the holiday season. I actually think that it kind of starts in October with Halloween, but we'll just go ahead and, for the sake of how it's normally done traditionally, just say Thanksgiving and Christmas. But anyway, we want to welcome you all to the newest episode of the podcast. Actually, it's episode 4 of our first season of the His Voice Her Vibe podcast, and so we're excited to have you all here on tonight.
Yes, welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. First and foremost, before we even get started, I'm going to read to you our little disclaimer. And that is this podcast is all about real talk and personal growth. But remember, we're not giving medical, legal, or psychological advice here. Everything shared is for insight and reflection only. If you're going through something tough, please reach out to a qualified professional who can give you the support you deserve.
Absolutely, positively, absolutely, positively. So tonight we are going to be talking about the holidays. We're going to be talking about how it can look different depending on the circumstances that you may endure, throughout the years, and how this year can vastly look different than years prior. So how we're
Excuse me,
doing all
y'all.
right. Um, for those that will come in a little bit later, hopefully you'll be able to hear this question or be able to answer it, and you probably will if you watch the replay of the podcast. How does this year look different for you in terms of the holidays than it has prior years? We just kind of want to get your feedback and hear what you have to say about that. I know for us, our years, just kind of look different from time to time, just kind of depending on the year and maybe just what's going on. But we want to know how you guys feel and what your year looks like to you. How is it different than years prior?
So here's the thing. If you are part of a family, odds are that you've experienced changing dynamics within your family. This could be the addition of a child, the loss of a loved one, marriage, divorce, aging parents, a serious health diagnosis, family disagreement, or it could just be more tension around it being the holidays and things are different. During the holidays, this can especially be true. And it's the time of the year that our discontent is much more prominent. So, in the realm of changing family dynamics, how does a person survive the holidays? How do you survive the holidays with the change in a family dynamic? So, I guess I'll start with us. Our family dynamic has changed. This will be our first Thanksgiving living not only in another state, but also our first Thanksgiving without our children. So we are going to be experiencing, I think, our second major holiday, but it will be our first Thanksgiving away. So for me as a mom, I think that it looks different. It's gonna feel different, but I think that I rest and my heart is eased and my feelings are because we've raised wonderful children and they are thriving, they are doing well. And on top of that, they have lots of family in Wichita. They have lots of people that they are surrounded with and friends and family. So they won't have the holidays alone. And so I think for me, I am comforted because I know that they won't be by themselves. They won't they'll still have, that experience
Right.
of a big old Thanksgiving dinner and congregating with family and friends.
I would probably second that. When we first came here last year, we moved on December 14th. I will probably never forget that day. It was a very cold day. It was, the season in Kansas, you know how it is. It's always cold and around that time. And we did what we did. We had to packed the truck twice, actually, because the first truck that we got was too small, even though we downsized considerably. But even with that, making our way here, trekking our way here through the cold weather in some parts of Texas, it was raining really, really, really bad to a point to where we couldn't even hardly see. It was a wild ride, but nevertheless, when we got here, it was warm, it was sunny. I mean, just everything was different. And so I can remember our first Christmas being here, of course, 11 days later or so. And I think it was like 80 something degrees or so. It was really, really, really warm. And we were, just kind of dumbfounded at how hot it was, the weather and everything. But um, that was pretty hard. I would venture to say that first one.
It was definitely hard for me because I have never spent Christmas away from my kids. And so even though they're adults, but they're still my babies, I guess I'll say.
Right,
It was the first Christmas I did not wrap gifts for them,
right,
even being 22, 20, and 18, I still wrap their gifts.
right. And
And
and and
so
does.
to not, be able to wrap gifts for my babies and put them up under the Christmas tree and leave out cookies and milk, well, cookies and Coke, because our Santa likes Coca-Cola. Put out cookies and Coca-Cola for Santa, just the traditions
Right,
were different, and so it just hits a little bit different. Even this year, we'll be spending, Thanksgiving with family here in Houston, but that still will be different. So that'll be a first for us,
right,
which is great. We're very excited to be able to do that, but at the same time, being away from what our norm is, which is big Thanksgiving at our house,
right.
not having it that way, it'll be a little bit different. I saw that someone jumped right on in to one of the subtopics that we had, and they were talking about, losing a child, and since they lost a child, um, their holiday season has been a little bit different. Can you go back to that comment?
Right, I just pulled it up. That was Shonda Henson. Shout out to Shonda and Nate, one of my day one homeboys. She says, since the death of our child, we just hold our head up and make it through the day 1 hour at a time. And if we're just being honest, it can be an hour at a time. Sometimes it's a minute at a time if we're just being,
Yeah.
real with ourselves, especially when it comes to the piece of death around this time. I know for myself and actually for my wife, my co-host, we've lost parental figures and people close to the holiday seasons. And again, I mean, it just really depends on the year. I mean, honestly, for me, I can remember for a long time not even really wanting to celebrate Christmas. I mean, because my grandmother died 8 days before, and anybody that knows me knows that my grandmother was my primary caretaker until she got sick, and then I took care of her. So Christmas was a no for me. If I'm being honest, I really didn't want to do too much on Christmas, and that it spawned all the way into my adult years. And so with that, it was just something that I had to do differently, something that I had to consider. And as I was looking over some things in terms of just how things can be when it comes to trying to navigate through holiday traditions, one of the things that came up that I was really I don't want to say flabbergasted, but one of the things that came up that I think really kind of made me turn a corner, just in thinking about it, was that um, I found out that you should normalize the feelings. There's nothing wrong with feeling how you feel around the holiday season. It's natural to feel a mix of emotions, joy, sadness, nostalgia, and everything when the holidays change. And I think the good thing about that, this says, is that we can honor what's different while still finding moments of connection. And I thought that that was a powerful insight because you never want to lose the connection of the loved one or whomever. It could be a friend, associate that you may have lost during these times. But even in that, it's nothing wrong with, the memories and the moments and the good times and reminiscing on the good times, and while doing that, still, pushing yourself to come up with, I don't wanna say a new normal, but just something a little bit different than what you're normally used to. And so, that's just something that I wanted to throw out there, that, you can normalize those feelings. There's nothing wrong with feeling a certain type of way. But if it's a situation where it has you down and depressed and in the dumps, please, 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 whatever you do, don't allow yourself to stay there. Do whatever you can to get out of it and fight and push.
Well, and I would say, there are a lot of reasons, there are various reasons people grieve
Absolutely.
during the holiday season. I can remember my first Christmas divorced, and we were alternating major holidays, so the kids had to go be with their dad. I cried all day long.
Wow.
Not that they weren't coming back on Christmas, but I had to wake up. I woke up and they weren't there.
Right.
So that was different for me. You know what I'm saying? It was different because I was no longer a part of the family that I had been a part of, where it was
Mhm.
all, uh, all of us for the Christmas and for the holidays. So I think that, relational speaking, you have to look at grief, not just the loss of a loved one, but broken relationships and situationships and things that you encounter in your life. But what I will say is a lot of people struggle with grief. And so grief has always been one of the top ones. Or when you have, like Jackie is saying, she says, my family dynamics have changed tremendously with aging parents, and one has Alzheimer's. So it's been rough just making it with a whole lot of prayer and patience. So where you once had, a parent who was taking care of you
Right.
probably and making sure the holidays, everything was cooked and ready and going, you now are their caretaker. So now you've assumed the responsibility
True.
of them. While they're still here with you, they are not the same person they used to be. And so even in that, I think we have to acknowledge people grieve different things,
Absolutely.
and the loss or the change or the cycle that they are used to, with regard to the holidays. I think sometimes we set ourselves up for expectation, and we don't allow sometimes for change. Artina says the holidays will definitely be different this year for us due to recent death and us being in a new city. So, Artina, I definitely can
We
relate to being in
understand.
a new city.
We understand.
Um, I can relate to maybe not as much of a recent death, but, having several deaths this year.
Yes.
In our family, we've had some very close loss, and so I can relate there, and I think that most importantly, I would like to just remind people that take it one day at a time, and this is from my own experience. Take it one day at a time, sometimes 1 minute, sometimes 1 second, 1 hour, whatever it takes. Just take your time through it. Don't allow anyone to force you to come out of the feeling of having lost someone.
I can agree with that, and I will say this. Oftentimes, when we talk about grief, we equate grief to, the physical loss of somebody not being here anymore. But you touched on something a little bit earlier when you talked about divorce, and I can remember, and a lot of y'all laughed at me, and I owe y'all for laughing at me. But I can remember when I got divorced, and for the first few years, I did nothing for Christmas. I did nothing. I might have gone to see, my sister and hang out with her and Mama Gail and, different people like that. But it was very far and few between. There were a lot of people that I would not necessarily go see. But one year I decided, you know what? I'm going to start my own thing, even though I'm divorced. I'm going to start my own tradition. And I went and I bought a Christmas tree and I bought decorations and I did all of this stuff. And I decorated my poor little Charlie Brown Christmas tree,
We
but it
got
was
it
my tree.
together.
Yeah,
Well,
it
we
it
we
it took
we
a
got
little
it
bit. It
together.
took a little bit to get it together, but I finally got it together. I had some really nice decorations in my opinion, and
You do.
I did something that I normally wouldn't do, and I stepped out of my comfort zone because, again, when you go through, that loss of a loved one, whether it's from the physical space or even from, the divorce or whatever, there are times where you just really don't feel like doing anything.
Mhm.
And so because of that, don't do me, Jackie. My cousin Jackie says she remembers that ugly Christmas tree, and my Christmas tree was not ugly, but you want to do something different because at the end of the day, this is something that I'm learning more and more and more. You only have one life to live here on this earth. You might as well live it to the fullest. And that means that there are going to be peaks, there's going to be valleys. You're going to have your high moments where everything is great, and you're going to have your low moments. But in those low moments, that's where you really have to dig in your heels. You really have to put your hand, in the hand of the Lord, and you have to keep pushing because without Him, it's a really, really hard cycle to navigate. And so I just want to put that out there. But I'm grateful, to be a part of a family that actually has traditions, and I've been able to incorporate what little ideas I have, into the tradition and make it a whole family event. And we have had fun over the years. I mean, we've done all kind of crazy photo shoots and just different stuff. I mean, we've eaten really good. The kids have made me cook all kind of stuff, which is great, because I like doing that around the holidays. So just different things that we were able to do, and it just really made for a really, really good time. So that's like she said, that's going to be vastly different for us this year, us being all of these hours away from them, but they're in good hands.
They are in good hands. You know, um, One of the things I think that people don't acknowledge or recognize is that it does matter when things change. I think, a lot of times we say, oh, change is a part of life. Yes, change is a part of life, but that does not mean that change is easy. So I
Right.
think that we have to remember that we have to allow ourselves grace and we have to allow those around us grace. And I think we have to remember to love on each other while you're going through those moments and check in on your friends. If I could have one piece of advice that people truly take away is check on your friends.
Absolutely.
Your strong friends need you. Just because a person doesn't say I need you or I'm going through, check on them. Just check on them and say, "Hey," if you know they've lost somebody or they're going through or they get quiet on you, because a lot of times grief doesn't hit you when it's noise and people are moving around and you
That's
planning
true.
and you going there. A lot of us really don't process grief and loss until it goes quiet.
That's true.
Depending upon, the trauma behind, certain situations and how people lose loved ones. Speaking of death, I think that it just you never know when it's going to hit, and I think we just have to remember that everybody's management
Mhm.
of death is different. Everybody's process to get through grief is different, and we have to remember to check in on people. The holidays are hard, even for those of us that are strong sometimes, and we have to just remember to check in on people. But one another thing I also wanted to touch on was just outside of death and grief, how do y'all feel about the holidays? I mean, it doesn't have to always be
Bah
what is it?
humbug.
Bah humbug. Got tongue tied there. It doesn't always have to be that way. Sometimes, just sometimes, the holidays are different because we're gonna incorporate something new, something that's bigger or something that's better or something that's for the good of or sake of the family or the tradition.
Yeah.
So, how do y'all feel about the holidays coming? Like, I still love the holidays. For those that don't know, I lost my parents 10 days apart over the Christmas, New Year's holiday. Lost my buried one on one day, and the very next day, the other one died. So that's just a little backstory, so you'll know where I'm coming from when I'm speaking on it, but I can remember feeling like, "What am I gonna do now?"
Right.
Because Christmas was all about my mama, the kids, my daddy, they're gonna come around. So, I think for us or for me to help manage, I had to figure out what's my new normal?
Right.
That's just my everyday new normal, but also what can I do to honor them, or what can I do to make the holidays better, because this was a time we all loved, and it can remain that way and I can still miss them. So we had to come up with some different things. I think after that, like, our family started having big old Christmas parties, and we would invite our
Yes.
friends and families, and
Yeah.
I mean, they were a major hit. So I'm even grieving the family Christmas party coming about. Yeah, if you had a chance to come, we got it in.
Indeed.
But I just think that it doesn't have to be negative. It doesn't have to be sad. I think that there can be sad moments, but we don't have to have an entirely sad holiday. I'm sorry, I missed Nichelle's comment.
She says, "In strong friends, it's okay not to be okay. Talk to someone." And I
Yes.
would second that.
It is okay not to be okay.
Right. I would second that, and, as my wife had mentioned, check on your strong friends, but I would also say check on your strong family members, because some of us know that there are certain family members that are within the family structure that people look to as the rock. They are the ones that the family members always go to. They're the ones that, when it really comes down to it, "Hey, I'm in trouble. I can't call nobody else, but I can call this person," and different things of that nature. And so check on your strong family members as well, because, they have those moments too. I often tell my wife, it's hard to pour, or feel, no, it's hard to pour out of an empty cup or out of an empty vessel. And so when you are that person that's giving, 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 pouring, 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 and you don't really have, the necessary resources to replenish you before you know it. I mean, you'll be done passed out and or something crazy, because you've given, given, given of yourself. And so while that's a good attribute to have, you also have to know when to say when, and also be encouraged in the fact that you're not going to be able to save everybody. I mean, as the strong family member or the strong friend, you're not going to be able to save everybody, and that may seem like a sad thing, but it's just the truth, because you are not a superman, superwoman. That's just not how you were built. And so you have to be mindful of your limitations as well as the limitations of others.
And I think that it's important that we remember, again, everybody processes things differently.
Absolutely.
And the way I manage and process is not gonna be the same way Norris manages and processes, which is not gonna be the same that, your kids or your friends or other family members may process. And I think that we just have to keep the line of communication open, where we're creating an environment where people are comfortable in how they feel. Exactly, Nichelle. You have to, before you can save anybody else,
That's what they
you
tell you
have to
on the
put your
plane.
own oxygen mask on.
That's what they tell
And
you on the
I
plane.
am learning that before I pour out to everybody else, or while I'm pouring out, because I won't say necessarily before, I'm learning to work on Lisa, put Lisa's mask on first. Let me take care of myself. Let me manage my feelings. And when it becomes too much handling or carrying other people's stuff, which I don't mind. I love the ministry that I do and that I give, but sometimes I have to take time just for me. Sometimes I have to take a time out,
Right.
and sometimes I have to remind others, it's time for your time out. Because I think sometimes we get so engulfed in taking care of other people and how they feel that we don't get an opportunity to process how we feel. And so I know one of the things that another thing that was on the list with regard to change is traditions. So
Right.
how do you go about, let's just talk about you your grandma died.
Mhm.
Everybody had the grandma that everybody went to the grandma's house, the grandma cooked, the grandma did everything. So when the matriarch or of the family is gone, how do you manage? How do you dish out those responsibilities? How do you decide who's gonna cook
Right.
the dressing? Who's gonna make the turkey this year? How do you manage doing that? How do you guys manage doing it? When the person that used to do certain things is no longer there for the holidays, how do you manage? How do you handle getting beyond that moment of, "Oh, they're gone, so what do we do now?"
I would say, 2 things. I would say learn to honor the past and then focus on what matters. You take a moment to remember the traditions, or the people who shaped the traditions, just like you were mentioning in terms of who will cook the dressing. To me, the person that needs to cook the dressing is the person that was closest to the grandma when she was in there cooking because they was learning something. You don't
Okay.
want anybody just trying out new stuff during
Please
the
don't.
holidays.
Please
So,
don't let that be your
so I
first
would
time making
say
dressing.
definitely, you want to honor those, those traditions and the past, but you want to focus on what matters. And at the end of the day, the holidays are meant, for being together. And it's not even really necessarily the size of the gathering, if we're being honest. It doesn't have to be a huge, huge gathering. You could have a few folks and have the time of your life, honestly, when it comes to the holidays and different things like that. While I do understand, we've seen all the movies, especially like Soul Food and other movies like that, where you got the whole big old spread and you got about 15, 20 people at your house and everybody's eating and getting fat and watching the game. Some people might be sleep in the chair after you've eaten really good and everything else. But at the end of all of that, that's great, and if you can do that, do that. I would say do that wholeheartedly. Go ahead and have the time of your life. But for those that don't have that big family environment, there's nothing wrong with being able to have a small gathering. You can have just as much fun in a small gathering. You can play games, and that's what we
Yeah.
used to do. We would play, board games, we would play card games, we would play the cup game. Shout out to, I call us as the big bones, but, shout out to Tasha for bringing in the cup game, and just different stuff that we took from other parties and other gatherings that we had, and we made them our own.
I said dare to do something different.
Absolutely.
Dare to be different. Dare to step outside the box of what it normally looked like and just be open.
Yes.
Be open. I think one thing that, COVID taught us all was how to be in the house for days at a time and find creative ways to entertain. And I
Right.
think that we just have to be open to doing some things a little bit different. Nichelle Williams says, "Lisa, you have gotten so much better thanks to Norris." And
That's
you know what?
right. That's right.
You are so right.
Give me my credit, man. Give me my credit.
Not too much.
Give me my
But I will
credit.
say, after for years, for a couple of years, the first 2 years, going through, grief was very rough.
Absolutely.
Very, very rough. Very, very, very rough. But going back to having friends, having family, and now for me, having a husband that allows me my space to navigate however I feel when I get up. And it's not just the holiday season. Grief hits you at the most inopportune time
You just
sometimes.
never know,
But I
randomly.
think that it matters when you have someone who allows you to be comforted. Not only are they your comforter, but they allow you to be comforted.
Right.
And so, Nichelle, you're right. Shout out to Norris because he has truly been that for me. Um, and yeah, thank you, babe.
You're welcome. Artina says it will be a small gathering for us this year. I will be cooking for two. We will watch football and play Uno. Yes, indeed.
We do that.
I'm looking forward to kicking my husband's butt.
I
Okay.
think I won the Uno challenge last time too.
You did. You did win in Uno. I will give her her credit. She did spank me pretty good. I was coming back though. We played many, many games that night. I think we were just bored and just like, I brought out the Uno. Hey, let's play this. And
Yeah.
we played game after game after game that night.
Like I said, get creative.
Absolutely.
Get creative in the things that you do. Do something different.
And that runs along the lines of this where it says offer flexibility.
Yeah.
Let keep things open. It could be a quiet dinner, a video call, or even just a walk together. And I mean, if it's not cold and it's like Artina was saying, just her and her husband, there's nothing wrong with going for a nice walk, on the holidays and sitting and talking and bonding and doing all of those types of things. That's a form of intimacy. People always want to equate intimacy to sex, but it's not just that. True intimacy is being able to be around that person that you love and that is your partner that you cherish, and you're able to sit and you're able to talk and you're able to have that conversations, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be anything so deep. It could just be just nice conversation between two adults. And you're there, for some, they might have a glass of wine or Moscato or whatever it is that they do. They might have cigars. I don't know what they do. But I'm just saying there are so many things that you can do to make these holidays good. They don't have to always be, the humdrum, bah humbug, sad type of events. Not saying that you won't feel those feelings at times, because I do. Even after years, my grandmother passed, and I think it was like 91, 92, around in there. And I have moments to this day where I just, for whatever reason, out of the blue, it'll just pop up and I get teary eyed and I'm like, oh my gosh, you know what I'm saying? But I, kind of type myself up and get back to doing what I'm doing. And it's typically around her birthday, or something around in that, that time and that space where I just kind of, for whatever reason, be feeling some type of way. And I'm not even necessarily recognizing what is going on, but then, oh, it's her birthday. You know what I mean? So it happens, you guys. We're not telling you not to feel things. Feel
Absolutely
them.
not.
Feel them. And don't allow people to try to dictate to you how long your grief process is. A lot of people in church would give you 3 days and you
It's a
go on.
lifetime.
But
It's
it's
a
a lifetime.
lifetime.
It's however
I
long
would
it takes
honestly
you.
tell you it's a lifetime. As long as you miss that person,
Yeah, it's however long it
it
takes you.
it's a lifetime. And I think some days are better than others, and we just learn to navigate them.
Now, Shell, you made a really good point here. Sometimes doing nothing is major, especially when you're always on the go. And I second that wholeheartedly. When we were at home, if we're being honest, we were always on the go. I mean, but between both of us, when it came to our church schedules, because we were both heavily involved in our church, if it wasn't, doing something in the background, it was either, preaching a message or whatever it was. So we were very heavily involved in our churches. She was very heavily involved in her chapter with her sorority. I was very heavily involved in doing things that I was doing and working and building my janitorial business and things like that. So we were always, always, always on the go. That doesn't even include the sports for the kids, whether it was cheer or dance, whether it was basketball, volleyball, basketball, just whatever it is, track. I mean, we were just go, 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 go. And I think that with this particular move, the Lord was like, okay, I'm gonna sit you guys down for a hot second, because I really want you to look at your life, how much you were going, how much you were doing. I'm going to give you a little bit of a rest, but at the same time, I just really want you to process some of the things that you've gone through in your life so that you could heal, and some of those healings are not instantaneous, some of them are progressive. And so, with this move, I think that that was something that the Lord allowed us to do, honestly, not just to heal when it came to different things that happened in our lives individually, but it gave us the opportunity to not to heal hurts from things that happened to us individually together as a unit. Things that we dealt with in prior relationships and just other, things that we may have encountered. It gave us the space to be able to come together to really knit and to gel and be, the friends, the best friends that, we deem ourselves to be, at the same time working through several different kinks and different things that we had dealt with on our own, from other things that may have, done harm to us. And so, you know, doing nothing is a great thing. Doing nothing is a great
I
thing.
will say it is a process
It
for
takes getting
me.
used
For
to. It
me,
takes getting used to.
it's a process because that is just a part of who I am. Being involved, being busy, and
I
doing different
I like
things.
doing nothing
And yes, he is very comfortable in that space. So for
now.
me, it was very uncomfortable at first, but I'm learning to appreciate it. And so, yes, Roxana Purnell says grief can be heavy and unpredictable. Yes, it can. And I think that is a part of the unpredictability is the part that hits you
Yes,
the
absolutely.
worst. I think the heaviness can always, for lack of better terms, kind of always stays around, but it's when it hits you and it's unpredictable and you didn't see it coming, so you can't prepare yourself. You
Right.
can't, gain your posture and ready to deal with it. Yeah, it can be rough.
It's a shockwave.
It can be
And
rough.
it, like, First Lady Roxana was saying, it's unpredictable. You really, honestly, you don't really have a whole lot of time to prepare. You really don't. You can know, that loved one's birthday, it's coming up, that it's going to be, a possible hard day for you, but you still sometimes can't even prepare for the level of grief that you might feel
Yeah.
on that particular day. George Hunter says, I understand, my man. I get that way to this day, also regarding my mother. Time allows you to learn to live with grief of the loss of a loved one. And I would say absolutely positively,
And the word that sticks out there for me in George's statement is time.
time. Absolutely.
Time. It takes time and more time, and sometimes all the time, you know, but it takes time. So I think grace, give grace and allow grace.
Give grace, allow grace, and like this says, emphasize resilience. When you are speaking to someone, or someone actually decides that they want to take the opportunity to come to you and talk to you about what it is that they're going through, don't shun them. But I would say, emphasize resilience. Even in difficult times, we can still find light and meaning. You know what I mean? The holidays remind us that joy can coexist with challenge, and it can. The two can actually coexist. You can have those challenges, you can feel those challenges, but you can also feel joy. You can emphasize, yeah, hey, normally around this time of year, this is kind of what I go through. These are the feelings that I feel. Acknowledge the feelings, acknowledge it all, take it in, but also at the same time, while I yet may be feeling these feelings, or these feelings may come up and creep up on me, I am going to experience joy. I'm not going to allow myself to stay in this state the whole, way. I'm going to see the good in this, because even though it may not necessarily feel like there's good in it at the moment, there is some good in it. There is some good in it.
Well,
And so you have to search for it.
and I think that as you navigate the holidays, and I think one of the things that is so important is when you're navigating the holidays that you prepare yourself
As much as you can.
as much as you can.
As much as you
And
can.
as you navigate them, you realize that it doesn't have to be the way that it was before. I think because a lot of times we grow up with traditions. We have them, we do it the same way every year, and we believe that this is the only way that things can be done. Christmas can only happen if I'm at home in Wichita with the kids. You know, Thanksgiving can only happen if everybody comes to my house, and that's just not true.
Right.
Thanksgiving, Christmas, the symbolism, the joy, the gathering, the family time, all of those things can still happen even when things change. Even when locations change
Right.
or dynamics of your family change or relationships change, there is still parts of that tradition, parts of it being special that you can still honor, that you should still honor, that you should still carry on. So I think that as the holidays come about and you know that things you're entering into it with change, I think that you have to remember and prepare yourself for it's going to look different this year,
Right.
but this is how we're going to do it. It's going to look different this year. So I think you have to almost coach yourself into
Absolutely.
being prepared for I don't know how I'm going to feel, but I'm going to feel some type of way. And because I already know that ahead of time, then you prepare a plan. And sometimes that plan could be I just got to go home. I can't take it. I mean, because you're entitled to how you feel. But sometimes that plan always also can be, I got a buddy who already knows what my cue is gonna be looking like if I'm getting emotionally, you know, upset and crying, tears, whatever, if I'm unable to manage and they can give me a pep talk, but I'm still staying because this is my family and we're gonna learn to get through this. We're gonna
Right.
get through this trying time. And so I think that preparing yourself emotionally and mentally for the change ahead of time, in my experience, has helped me survive the holidays as they've ever changed over the years.
It's good. Sherry Robinson says, I have had grief. I'm just thankful God didn't let me stay there.
Yes,
I had to
yes, and
accept God
yes.
never makes a mistake, and it makes me more aware that I didn't come to stay.
Ooh,
Wow.
and that's deep. It makes me more aware that I did not come to stay. We say all the time life is short, and life is short, and we have to enjoy every day and look at it as a blessing
Absolutely.
because tomorrow's not promised. This may be our last Thanksgiving. This may be our last
I pray
Christmas.
it's not in Jesus' name.
Well, we do, but the reality
Shoot.
is somebody somewhere, this
Somebody
will be their
somewhere.
last Thanksgiving and their last Christmas. And so we should take every opportunity to enjoy the time that we're given with family and friends.
Which is what I was
And
saying.
even in our lonesome.
Yeah. Which is what I was saying earlier, and reiterating that you have one life to live. We don't necessarily know where we're going. We know where we've been though. And because of that, if the Lord allows you to have the time to make whatever necessary corrections, go ahead and make those corrections. But I would also say, I mean, and that's for you. I'm speaking, for self. But I would also say that, take the time out to make sure, if at all possible, that
Yeah,
you could get things right with your loved ones. You could get things right with, the friends that you may have had. And if we're just being honest, there are a lot of times where friendships and even some family dynamics in terms of relationships may just be a seasonal thing. I'm not going to try to force you, to try to make amends with everybody because everybody's not going to want to make amends with you. And
this
sometimes
is
when the
true.
times are up, the times are just up. There's no getting around it. For whatever reason, this was the season. We that it was time for that person to go, and I get that. You know, um, there's an expiration date and a cutoff point for some people. It's just what it is. But for those that you hold near and dear, that you feel like maybe the Lord has called you to have a long-standing relationship with, and maybe things may be rocky. Work it out, fix it, do what you can do what you can do. And that's all you can do is do what you can do. If they're accepting, that's a whole different ball game. If they're not accepting, that's another ball game. You just make sure that
True.
you do what you're supposed to do. And if you do that, you can walk with your head held high knowing I did the right thing. They're not receptive. That's okay. Imma just go on and do whatever I need to do, and Imma, keep it pushing. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
You're right.
Sometimes those relationships die at the weirdest points, um, but you don't necessarily know, when that situation is going to happen.
Denise, you are so right. Denise says, "I always say grief waits for you. It's such a strange beast." It is.
Absolutely. It really
It
is a
is. And
strange
it's
beast.
almost like it's at the point where you feel like you're okay, and then boom, it'll hit. Feel like you're having a good day. Okay, I'm in a better place. I've gotten, 2 weeks without having a breakdown or whatever, and there you go.
Right. Roxana Purnell, she made another good point. People don't understand that grief counseling can be totally separate from spiritual counseling. Spiritual strong and yet spiritually strong and yet grieving while finding joy in the small victories.
Yep.
That is a mouthful.
And those small victories add up,
They add up.
and they matter. They matter.
They do
They really
matter.
do.
Denise Daniel says, "So right, cousin Lisa. I literally have to coach myself every day and every moment, everyday moments, and every day since my husband Brian passed." I don't think I
Yeah.
read that right, but I understand what she's saying. And it is a phase,
Mhm.
that or I don't even want to say a phase. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. It's not a phase. But it is I would say it is a fact that you have to do that. And depending on
Yeah.
how long you choose to, not remarry or whatever. And that's not even necessarily saying that if you do remarry, that you still won't have, a void for that person, that you were in love with or that you were married to. I'm not saying that because I think especially if you were married and you guys were really good friends, I think that you could miss that. You could miss that. If they didn't do you
I'm
wrong,
certain you can miss that.
you can miss that. You can miss the friendship. You can miss the camaraderie of that person that was your spouse. Even though you might have, somebody new in your life, you're building new things and new traditions with that new person. But if you guys were really good friends in spite of the marriage and things like that, you could absolutely miss that. You could miss that.
Yeah.
And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. I'm not saying, that you just I'm just gonna say that. I don't think there's nothing wrong with that, and I'm gonna leave that
Yeah.
alone
Leave
because
that alone.
that could go, down a tricky road for real for some people. It really can. So I
Yeah.
would say that. Roxana Perel says that's the sad reality. Take nothing for granted.
Yeah. Yeah. I would agree there. You take nothing for granted. Life is short. The times we have that we are able to share with our loved ones at and not even just at the holidays, but every day, we should always, always do our best to enjoy those moments. Do our best to hold on to those moments because now, you get together at the holidays and then you can laugh. I know therapy for me and my 3 kids has been with regard to losing my parents who really they think were their parents, but we share videos. And so,
Yeah.
luckily, they came up in a time where they had, MP3 players and all those things where you could record and DSs and stuff, and so we have lots and lots of videos that we share back and forth, of my dad and my parents, and we are able to share those moments and laugh and get through the tough times because we have those memories. And so I think it's very important for people to also share those pictures, share those videos, share those funny times. And if you don't have them, start making them now.
Right.
Start making them now because I can remember hating, "Oh my gosh, go take a picture of this, go take a picture of that." My mom always wanted pictures and videos of all kinds of things, and it matters now because now I have all those memories and we can share them. My kids can share them with their kids. They have videos of us and
Right.
our family and events and things like that. So I'd also challenge everyone that is watching this podcast to make the memories. Make the memories and document those memories by doing videos and
Right.
taking pictures and sharing them with your family members because when you are gone or when things change, it is very important to keep that legacy
Absolutely.
alive, to keep some of those traditions alive and be able to show the good times and the times that, you shared with each other as family. And so I would challenge everybody listening to do a little bit of that video and pull out them Androids and them iPhones and take some videos and some good pictures and share them.
Make the most out of the time that you have
Yes.
with each other. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm looking at what Shonda Henson says. We continue to honor those that are not here and remember them by playing videos. But like you said, minute by minute is how you make it. But you have to stay focused about life's journey. And
Yeah.
being focused about life's journey is a part of that is making new memories.
Yeah.
Relishing the time that you have doing the videos, taking the pictures, having the conversations, enjoying each other, the laughs, the tears, whatever it may be. Take the time out to do that. And I believe that when all is said and done, with doing that, you will have some of the things that you really need to help you get through those really, really hard times and those really rough times.
So, of the people that are listening that haven't commented, I'd be curious to know when you have those hard moments about change and the dynamics, specifically surrounding the holidays, what do you do? What would be a word of advice that you would give us as well as our viewers and the people that are listening tonight? What would be some takeaways? What would be some things that you would share with others or you would suggest for them to do to help making the holidays a little lighter for those that may be grieving certain situations?
So at Butterfly 25 Brown says, leave a legacy of love.
Yes.
You learn to live through grief and not get over it.
Yeah.
So I think that's something
Yeah.
that you could actually do for sure. Leaving a legacy of love and just making sure that those that are around you know that you love them. Know that you care. Um, a lot of people, they can take that in different ways, but at the end of the day, your intentions and your words and your actions, they all matter. They all matter. Anybody else might have an idea.
So while we're checking on the comments, just a reminder that there are a few ways to navigate grief and the holidays without pretending you're okay or letting the weight swallow you. Number one is let it be what it is. Grief doesn't take holidays off. The pressure to be festive can make things feel worse. It's okay if your season looks different this year, quieter, slower, or even more intentional. Number two, build or borrow some new ways of doing things.
Oh wow.
Sometimes small gestures help you stay connected without reopening the wound. Number three, say the person's name.
Yeah.
A lot of people avoid talking about the person they lost because they don't want to upset anyone, but often the silence hurts more. If you want, bring them into the room and do it. Number four is identify your pressure points. Certain songs, places, or traditions might hit hard. There's nothing weak about preparing for them or even skipping the ones that feel like too much. Number five is allow mixed emotions. Joy doesn't cancel grief, and grief doesn't cancel joy. You can laugh, enjoy parts of the season, and still miss them fiercely. Both can exist without betraying anything. I love that because sometimes, specifically in the onset or the first years that you lose someone the first year after those first anniversaries, you feel like you are betraying them because you're
Oh man.
enjoying
Yeah.
the holiday.
Right. Right.
or because this year you don't make a Facebook post, you then feel guilty because, "Oh, does this mean," is it gonna be interpreted that I don't miss
Right.
them or I don't love them or I'm not sad? No. No, guys, it just means that you are learning to manage differently
Absolutely.
and that it's okay to enjoy
That's good.
Christmas. It's okay to enjoy Thanksgiving, and it's okay to still miss them and do things differently. Number 6 is choose your people. If you need company, reach for the ones who feel safe and don't require you to perform. I'm gonna say that again. Reach for the ones who feel safe and don't require you to perform. If you need space, take it without guilt.
Absolutely.
And lastly, plan an exit strategy. If you're attending gatherings, decide ahead of time how long you will stay or how you'll step out if things get too heavy. Just knowing you have options helps.
That's a good one. That's a good one. And I say that because I believe that that's just good. That's good emotional management
It definitely is.
for you to know, hey, okay, I'm gonna come, I'm gonna be present, I'm gonna show, but I'm only gonna allow myself this much time. Maybe I'll just stay an hour. You know,
And if in an hour
if
I'm good,
then
I can
I'll stay a little
stay.
bit
But
longer.
at least I'm
Yes,
going to give myself that hour
right. To enjoy
to
myself and
fellowship.
fellowship
Yes.
and to,
Yes.
not just sit here and allow myself, to be drawn in so much so that I can't enjoy the holidays for at least a space of time.
Yeah.
So I think that list was an amazing list. I think that it was incredible. Some of those points were very, very, very good points. Denise Daniels says, "Man, I do that. I plan my arrival and exit strategy, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with
Yeah.
that." I think that's
That is actually healthy.
yeah,
It's very healthy. You allow yourself time to get out and enjoy, and you allow yourself time to come home and remember.
and it gives you the capabilities of knowing your limits.
Yeah.
You know what your limits are and how long you can do a thing. And as time progresses, maybe you can stay a little bit longer, and a little bit longer and just different things like that. She also
Time
says
and space.
boundaries.
Space and time.
Butterfly 25 Brown says, then make a decision to get up, lace up your boots, and get back to life.
Exactly. I try to remind people that I talk to, specifically those who have lost someone, and tell them it is okay to be in your feelings.
Yeah,
It is okay to grieve. It's okay to stay in the bed all day, one day, if that's what you choose to do, but you can't stay there.
can't stay there. Gotta move.
You can't stay there.
Have to move.
You cannot stay there. And so, if I offer any words of encouragement, it would be to get up. Allow yourself the time, but then get up. Get up, because
Uh,
there is still a life here to live.
Wow. We got a lot of good comments. Anthony Coleman says, not having my father on this earth since 2024. Holidays really get to me, but I manage. My bro Norris has helped me a lot in those times more than he know. Salute. Salute to my boy. That is my guy. Period, point blank. He couldn't be any closer to me than if he had my own DNA in him. That's my dude. And he already knows. So it's love, bro. Roxana Pereira, she says, my husband and I have social cues. Wow. We have social cues. Making that deep eye contact with a simple head nod. We know it's
It's
time
time
for
to
us to
go.
leave. No questions to be asked. And Roxanne, I am not mad at you.
I'm with you there,
I'm
sister.
not mad. And I think we kind of have that to a degree too. I don't know if we just necessarily, do head nods or nothing, but my wife will say, I'm ready whenever you are. That's our cue.
That's his cue to I'm ready to go.
I'm ready whenever you are. And so sometime I may stay a little bit later, but most often, yeah, let's go. I'm ready to roll too.
And I
So
think
I
that
get it.
when you know your significant other well, you you can sense. Like, I feel like from the time I step out the bed if grief has
I
struck
can
them.
tell. I could too.
and I don't have to say anything. He just knows. And so I think that it's always helpful when you have a close friend or family member or a spouse or someone who, like they said, you don't have to pretend with. You don't have to pretend at all. We could be somewhere and my eyes will always tell the story. And okay, it's yeah, time to move around.
Yeah,
Time to move around. And I think that having people that understand and respect that is very important.
absolutely. I would totally agree with that. Denise Daniels, she echoes Roxanne Purnell's comment, says that that was her and her husband, and when they went out, and I believe that a lot of spouses they have those moments where
And
they
I
just
definitely
know,
can see Denise and Brian in that moment.
right,
I can see Denise with her glasses on, giving Brian that look and that smile on his face, like, well, time to go.
right.
Time to go.
We rolling, rolling.
Right. I
So
definitely can see it.
shout out to all of the married couples and those that have significant others, and shout out to the singles too. We definitely don't want to leave them out. The thing that I
Because
would
there are some people that are gonna be single this year
absolutely
during the
some
holidays.
by
And
choice and some not by choice.
yeah, and it makes a difference.
Absolutely. And
It makes a
so,
difference.
we want to, salute everybody, whether you're single with somebody, whatever it is, situationship, if that's what you like, whatever you do, we want to, salute you and shout you out. And, ultimately, we just want everybody that can and that will allow themselves to, as much as they possibly can, to have a great holiday season.
Yes.
I want to, and I know this is going to be hard for them, especially given the circumstance, but I really want everybody, if you could, to pray for the Taylor family, in the loss of Coach Kenny Taylor. Pray for his wife Marla. Pray for the kids. Pray for his mom, Miss Doris, and the other family members and friends, and just people that are around in the Wichita area, wherever that know him. Really good guy, really solid guy, and you know things are going to look different for that family, just like they look different for me and for my wife and for others that have lost whether it was around the holidays or just even this year or even if it was 20 years ago, things will look different. And so, as I ask you all to pray for, them, I'm praying for you all. I ask that you all will pray for us, as we're all navigating through this time. And we're just gonna trust and believe that God is gonna get us through. He's gonna get us through. And even in the midst of tears, there will be some laughter mixed in.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, with that being said, guys, we want to thank you all again for joining
Happy
us. Yeah,
Thanksgiving.
happy Thanksgiving. We want to thank you all again for joining us on this fourth episode of our podcast, and we're really enjoying this. We're really, enjoying coming to you all, every second and fourth Sunday, and just having a good conversation and dialogue with you all. We thank you all for showing up and for watching us and talking to us and engaging. And again, happy Thanksgiving, guys. We will see. Hey, cousin. I see you, Carlos, joined. Um, Happy Thanksgiving, guys. Don't eat too many chitlins. And don't eat too many chitlins. And but have fun. Have fun. Have a good time.
Enjoy your family and friends.
Enjoy your family. Enjoy
Push
your
through.
friends. Push through. Absolutely. We look forward to seeing you guys again on our next episode. So, with that being said, my name is Norris.
And I'm Lisa.
Thank you for tuning in to the His Voice Her Vibe podcast. And we will see you next time. Peace.